Hello, guys. Welcome to the What Always Wild podcast. It is that time of the week again. Happy Halloween. And in that theme, we are going to talk about scary experiences. Yes, be them real or be they imagined. Times that we all shat ourselves watching films as a child, or something creepy that happened to us in real life, or a terrifying video game experience that you just can't quite shake despite being nearly 30. And that's only me. The other two are still quite young. I'm just a bitter, old, balding man. But that's fine. This isn't going to become another one of them where I have a complete breakdown. But balding, I'm bald.
Aye.
So that's a joke in our house, if one of the adverts for like hair loss cream comes on or something, like if you're balding, and Caroline's always like that to me, oh, you should try that. I'm like, I'm no balding, I'm bald.
It is gone.
It's parched.
I don't know how you saving this as a transplant. Or a
I need to
toupee.
I need to go full Wayne Rooney at this point, and I'm just not prepared to do that.
The earth has been salted.
Oh, it's like Rome, Scots Doth policy. Everybody's deed and the ground's been solved. Nothing will grow here again. My head is barren. Barren. That's fucking depressing. But aye,
That's a scary experience.
that is a scary experience. Shaving your hair off to see what it looks like and then it not growing back. It's a scary experience, that. I wonder if I'd look good bald. That never comes back.
That was kind of my worry, like, because I shaved my head at the start of lockdown. I went full Blair. Like, I get the razors into it. It's like the razors that you use for a fanny. I used that in my head. So like my missus, my missus and her pal, they get it with the scissors. Because the issue is we couldn't find any clippers.
Right.
So they went at it with scissors, and then they
Right.
just put the razors and the shaving foam and just into the scalp. And after I'd done it, I was maybe my hair's not going to grow back. A bit of the fear, but it grew back and everything was happy, everything was good in the world. The birds.
I had to shave mine this morning with the shaving cream and the razors because it will only grow at the front at all. It's completely barren at the front. But like the sides and the back it still comes in sort of patchy and weird. I
Right.
thought I need to shave it, or I just look like a big
So you
fan.
get the bird's nest.
Because
Aye, I go full Zidane.
I've got nothing against the bald look. Like, I quite like it.
Thank you.
My head is shaped like an egg. So see when
Aye.
it all comes off, I've got like a head like a boiled egg. So I look like a wee dick. I look like I'm about to kidnap Sonic.
Eggman.
Terrible, man.
Eggman was cool.
Aye. That's all I can remind myself.
Right, before I delete it on my Twitter, there was like a new trend of men shaving all their heads bald and freaking their girlfriends out with it. And I was deeply horrified to my core because of the reaction that the girlfriends were having. Like, us bald men are like repellent and should be shooed away to a desert island like lepers. Well, fuck you then, you bitch. Baldy.
See, I went the other way for lockdown. I just grew it.
Right, alright.
Aye.
You're kind of
It was
about
actually-
Michaels.
It was actually really long. I could put it up in a pony.
Nice.
I see when it gets too long, it pisses me off a wee bit. I like having because I get a half at the back and the sides, and usually just tidied up over the top, and that's me. I'm happy. I'm ready to go. Because I like the wee side shed. I like wearing it out to the side and just having a good life like that. So I was like, I'm no fucking about getting it all that long way when it gets down past the ears. I was like, just put me bald.
I was in love with my last hairstyle before the crops died. It was you remember this, Scott? It was when we were in class together.
Oh, the crops
before the Sahara forehead over here. But I get like the sides and the back shaved completely bald, like what they are now. But I had a lot of hair at the top, and I like gel it right back, like something out of Vikings. And because I've got the big beard, it looked really cool. I've got photos of it in my phone.
I think that was his best look.
See, I've just been looking at your head for a unreal amount of time, and I'm struggling to see where your forehead ends.
I've like to begin with, I can see the confusion. I can see the confusion because even when I had hair, I had a massive forehead.
Aye.
Fucking Phil Mitchell over here. So I've got the one is a bit forehead. So that's quite a lot of forehead, and then we're all bald. But it's shiny.
But he was using that German shampoo.
It didn't work. I think by the time I started using it, though, that caffeine shit, the damage was done. You know what I mean? The horse had been flogged. So to speak.
He had this little bit here that we would pull back. And he looked, because he had his like leather jacket on and everything. He looked cool as shit, man.
I thought it like I had
Aye.
I've got a Viking hoodie. It says something about Odin or Thor on it. So I was cutting about with that and my leathers and my denim.
'Cause that's what I
My
use.
hair.
Innit? I use the caffeine shampoo.
It might help you because you've still got hair, but I was like bald when I started using it, thinking it would.
After I shaved it, I just started getting pure para that I was going bald. I was
But,
going,
right,
I was going to be bald. I was going to be bald soon. I was starting freaking out. I was like, I cut a bit like Dr. Eggman forever. So,
hey, it works for me.
Aye, leave Robotnik out of this.
It's the shape of my head. That's where the issue arises. If it was just
Right.
bald,
Like you wouldn't soon be in bald.
I'd take it in my grace. Cause I've got pictures when I'm bald, and it's just like it's at a point. It's fucking ridiculous. It's like I always get described like my mates used to say my head's like an upside down triangle, which they've got a fucking point.
I'm lucky in that I suit it. The men in my family are thick of skull. We're all bald enough, so it's hereditary. But we've all got big, robust heads. So when we inevitably go bald when we're early 20s, it looks actually not too bad. And we all grow big red beards, so it takes away from it. Now, if I was unable to grow the sweet facial hair that you can see, and I was just like, I would look like Phil Mitchell, because you can't see it under all this beard hair, but there's like 3 chins under here, and it's no good. And there's a talk about scary circumstances that scared me, man. I started growing a full beard quite early on, like in my early 20s and stuff, when I was a bit thinner. And then a year or 2 ago, I got it all clippered off and went completely clean shaven to see what it would look like, and there was just these chins there that didn't used to be there, and I was like, oh fuck me, we can't have that. So I was faced with that dilemma that all good men face, like when your t-shirts are too tight for you because you've been putting on the beef. Do you then dye it, or do you just buy bigger clays? I buy the bigger clays because I'm lazy, and I thought, what do I do about my 3 chins that are here? Do I try and exercise and get healthy and live a long life and be virile, or just grab the fucking beard back out? Now you can see that all the footage here. I think you can tell which path I took. Too lazy for that. I don't want to live a long time.
See, I've always shattered to grow a long beard, but I just keep mine like kind of like this. So I have to shave like once every week or every 2 weeks. It's a bit of a pain in the dick.
Just grow a beard. Everybody looks better with a beard. It's a thing.
I've got it to a degree, but I really want the Hogan. I want to shave it off and just have the handlebars, because that's the handlebars part of mine actually grows in really well. Like some folk, they've got issues with growing it at that bit. Like joins, a lot of folk they're barren, and I don't know that. But no, mine's is there quite thick. So
mate, you want the Fu Manchu look?
You should go full Hogan. That'd be glorious.
I'm kind of worried my girlfriend would leave me.
Well, that's hard loss. With somebody out there that appreciates a spruce moustache.
Aye.
You could do it for a month.
You could, aye.
Where's Bubba the Love Sponge's wife?
Bubba the Love Sponge. That's the best name I've ever heard in my life.
His wife can come on down.
You might end up getting sued at the end of it. It's an expensive shag.
Well, he's not got a good track record. You might win.
You'll know Hogan though. Hogan has all the money. We should send Hogan a Twitter message, see if he'll come on the show. I'd love that. We should get Hogan.
You'd get his response. Oh, thanks, but no thanks, brother.
He tweeted me once. It was one of the best days of my entire life. I'm not on Twitter at all anymore as used to, Ken, but I was on it for a while, and when I was a bit younger, in my mid-20s or whatever, I quite liked annoying celebrities on it. So I did. But I was always really nice to Hogan because I love Hulk Hogan. So it's like I don't remember what I sent him, but he tweeted me back. He said, thanks, brother, and 2 H's at the end. It was in Hulk Hogan. No Hail Hitler, Hulk Hogan. And I was like, yes, Hogan. I also got Jennifer Metcalf, the Hollyoaks, to tweet me once, because I was obsessed with her for a long time because she's really gorgeous. Not like a stalkery, I'm going to wear your face skin kind of way, but just like I just like to look at her, and I still do because she's really good looking. And anyway, I remember what I tweeted that it wasn't creepy. It wasn't like I went to like have you sit in my face like a stool or anything weird like that. Despite that's what I was thinking, but that's not what I said.
Aye.
I can't remember what I said to her. It was something to the tune of "You're gorgeous, I love you" or something. I don't remember what it was. And she tweeted me back saying thanks with like a kiss and a wee smiley face. Yay. Jennifer Metcalf knows I exist. And then I read an interview, we'll come off this in a minute, but I read an interview with her once that she said she doesn't like pretty boys. She likes like big, sort of fat guys that are hairy and a bit burly. I'm like, bruh, that's me. And I seen like a month ago her and her husband have split up. So now might be my time to strike.
She's in a rebound phase.
My current partner told me that she doesn't consider it cheating if you're shagging a celebrity. So I feel like me and Jennifer Metcalf could make some sweet music.
I think you're
of
celebrities, boy.
I'd be alright with it, to be honest. I mean, that doesn't count. They're no real people. She's obsessed with Tom Hardy. She wants to shag Tom Hardy. And I mean, I get it. He's much better acting than me. I'd be foolish to be jealous. The man's a dime piece. But should Jennifer Metcalf be a fan of this show? You said you like to men get big and hairy and smelly. Well, that's me. Let's hit me up then. We'll make some sweet music together, you and I.
Hit up the Twitter. I'll get the message to him.
Aye, tweet the Always Wild account and Scott will relay the message to me. I'll be here with my phone in my hand, waiting.
And if you ever want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome.
That day, aye.
These two are big Hollyoaks fans.
I used to be, aye.
Aye.
That would be good though. We should try and get the Hollyoaks crew on. And if we ever end up getting her on this, I meant all that in the nicest possible way. Just really better.
Don't Stephen Donnelly it.
Simon Donnelly.
Oh. That is the point.
The Hollyoaks used to be great, didn't it? It's kind of shite. It's kind of shit. It was brilliant back in the day.
I've not watched it for years.
I tried to get back into it this year in lockdown, but I don't know how any of them are. But they got folk left.
Many of the McQueens. The McQueens can fuck off. They do my fucking thing.
That's what Jennifer Metcalf is. She's a McQueen. She's an angel.
Mercedes McQueen, but her, even at that, she's a bit annoying. But there's only so many times they can kill her off.
They'll lose half the viewership if she stopped there, because everybody watches it because she's gorgeous.
Aye.
You know what I mean? She really is. It's a very pretty cast.
That was I was going to say that was Hollyoaks' thing, but they
gorgeous women.
God, like, they were all stunning.
You remember Mitzi? Oh, God.
Aye, Mitzi was flames. I remember.
Wait, hang on. Translate for the old man. What does that mean?
Flames is just really hot, like really.
All right.
So, like, I remember.
I don't speak emoji.
I just remember one of the first times watching that Hollyoaks later, and it's the one where.
Oh, but she's in the shower. Oh.
She's getting it all again clean, and you're just like, yeah, because I seen that. I think I was like 12 or 13, man. So you're like.
I'm assuming that this show is just kind of a do what we want.
Pretty much, aye.
We'll still do the scary experiences, but might as well just have a wee laugh.
Well, we're just riffing on life. Aye. I'm alright with it. Wait, baby. Mitzi's ass. Aye. It's in my head.
Good spot to cut back to.
It's in my head now. I can't stop thinking about it.
That Hollyoaks later was wild though, man. Like,
excellent.
I don't know how they get away with it. I don't know who thought, like, let's just have a later episode and we're all getting pumped. But
how was it you worded that in a previous discussion?
Oh,
this was Brendan's sister getting frogged on the flesh.
that was the first time I've ever seen Hollyoaks later. I thought it was just Hollyoaks, but late at night. I didn't expect any of that, and it was Reese. Reese as well.
Yeah.
Reese.
I remember Reese.
It was him and he was fucking gone to town, man, and it's like, oh, what's going on? Brendan's gonna go bush.
Brendan's gonna get you. When we started this Always Wild adventure before we did the podcast, and it was the lists. Remember, I put Brendan on one of our lists, and the response on Twitter was pretty excellent. So I thought I was the only one that forgot and cared that Brendan was ever a thing, but all these other wee Hollyoaks fans come out the trees going, "Yeah, Brendan."
Brendan was amazing.
He was the man.
Hollyoaks. I liked Warren as well.
No, I didn't like Warren because they two were enemies.
Aye.
Aye.
You have to pick one or the other.
Aye, well, I'm like that because I grew up a wrestling fan. Like, I never liked Stone Cold or The Rock as a child because I loved Triple H, and they were always trying to get Triple H. Hey. And I did. It tended me to be older to be like, aye, they were pretty cool, but at the time I hated them. You know, like everybody would pop when Stone Cold would come out. I'd be like, oh fuck, here's Stone Cold. He's just going to battle Triple H again. I hated it because I just always loved Triple H. He's cool.
I was always a big fan of Triple H.
He's the man. My mate Ricky's obsessed with him. He's like Ricky's favourite
He's
wrestler.
a better pal than Shawn Michaels.
Wait, did he the Road Dog, didn't he?
Shawn Michaels was just a fucking dweeb.
He was a dweeb.
And he was apparently a cock as well.
Well, I quite like the stories of him in the 90s. There's a shoot interview with, I think it's Kevin Nash, and he's like, I've never seen anyone motherfuck Vince McMahon as much as Shawn Michaels did in the 90s.
Well, he was the main guy in the company, and so what are you going to do? Fire him? Yeah, that's when wrestling was good.
Was it The Undertaker that was going to batter him about the screw job?
Aye, sort of. It was not the screw job, it was
Mania 15?
Foley Mania 15. There was talk that Shawn wasn't going to do business and he wasn't going to like drop the belt to Stone Cold. So the story goes that the Undertaker sat shirtless in the gorilla position with his fists taped. He's like, if anything screwy happens, I'm going to go to the ring and batter him. Now, imagine, because Shawn Michaels is only like an inch taller than me. He's only about 6'1", and the Undertaker's nearly 7 feet tall. And every bit of 300 and whatever pun. Oh, you get you.
Because I saw the Jim Cornette shoot interview about that, and
we should get Jim Cornette in the show.
Sat down like that, just waiting, and then as soon as the bell rang, he took the tape off and went for a shower and went home.
He's so scary.
Did you ever see the confrontation he had with Brock Lesnar after Brock Lesnar beat off Cain Velasquez?
That was staged.
Yeah.
On the Undertaker's pet, Vince McMahon sent him to try and drum up interest for a possible Brock Lesnar return to the WWE.
Aye.
But they didn't tell Brock that, apparently. He had no idea.
I was watching it, right, and it was the way when he goes, I remember it at the time, and the way he goes, oh, do you want to go? Or do you want to do it or something? I was watching it and I was like, Brock Lesnar would beat the fuck out of you. I was like, shut up. I don't care how big you are. Brock Lesnar would fucking double leg you into the ground and batter your skull in. Do not fucking recognise that, man.
Maybe. Taker's been legit training his entire life. He's got like a black belt in jiu-jitsu or something.
You can train, but
he's legit.
When you're fighting at the highest level, you're no stopping it.
Apparently he battered 4 bikers in a bar at the same time. He used to be a bouncer in a biker bar.
I can imagine him battering like bikers that don't know really how to fight. But if you're talking about a guy who's beat the fuck out of Shane Carwin, he's going to batter the Undertaker.
Okay, it's probable. It's definitely probable. But the fact he's been training his entire life means he can maybe throw a few good hands.
Because I think Brock, what's it called, the Bone Skull crew, the BSK or whatever, and they would just go to bars and batter everyone.
There is a difference between a bar fight and a professional fight, though. I get what you're saying.
A lot of the big guys at the bars, they don't know how to fight. But a lot of it's just like 30-second windmilling, and it's done.
Right, but do you not think that's more impressive though? Because they're the sorts of fights where you're going to get like bottled and lost an eye in. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's see, like fights like that, it always screams out to me that folk are scared. They're scared in that situation. That's how they're lashing out the way they are. Because a lot of times, if you know how to handle yourself, you don't need to lash out. That's always been my kind of thought process. Like, you used to see it at school, but seeing two guys would like square up to each other, you would see that they were scared because neither of them knew what to do. So their first instinct is just to swing the first punch. And
maybe at your school, that wasn't the case at my school. Maybe where you went. Yeah.
No, like my school, it was full of nutters, but even deep down, a lot of them didn't really know what they were doing.
I get that. I read a Reddit thread about something similar to this, about how apparently real people can't fight. Nobody knows how to throw a punch. I'm like, well, it's not the hardest thing in the world. I've done it a bunch of times. I've been in a fair few fights when I was younger and wasn't scared in any of them. Because flinging a punch at somebody's face is fairly straightforward. You know what I mean?
But a lot of the time you act the way you do because you don't want somebody to hit you first. And that's kind of a lot of the issue. It's let's hit and hope that they go down first.
I think maybe that depends on the individual.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a generalisation. I don't know. Most people can't fight properly, I'll give you that. There's levels to fighting, obviously, but throwing a punch at somebody's not the hardest thing in the world. It's fairly straightforward. I've done it a bunch of times and never broke my hand, for example. The way that fighters say, regular people can't throw a punch to break their hand. Well, I've punched a bunch of folk and never broke my hand before. So. You know what I mean? I think it depends on the person. No, I mean, I can't fight properly, obviously. That's not what I'm saying, but like A bar fight, I would do alright on. I have done alright on previously. But there's a difference, obviously, if you get that and you're in a cage and having some trained murderer put your legs off.
Aye, let's
That's no good.
see the whole fighting outside. It just something that just doesn't sit right with me. I don't understand that.
I know it does because I'm too old to do it. But at the time, it was quite good fun.
What folk feel they need to prove. Like, why do you need to prove to somebody else that you're this kind of tough guy? Like, are you insecure about yourself? Or
in my case specifically, the other boy said he was going to leather me, so I didn't want him to punch me.
Self-defense is a bit different, but you see it when you're out and about. Like, see the amount of folk that have the peacock chest. It's puffed out. Somebody accidentally touches into them and they're like trying to have a go. I
dealt with a lot of folk like that at work. Obviously, I should clarify, I wasn't just running about punching people in the street. I was a bouncer for nearly a decade, and my job involved getting kind of hands-on with folk. So I've seen a lot of the kinds of guys though, with the kegs under their arms. I always quite enjoyed.
You're seeing it. It's sparked. Let's see a lot of the things that have happened over in America with like the school shooting. No, the school shootings, the shooting of like pedestrians by the police. It sparked a lot of really good debates that people are like starting to think that like police officers should be trained in jiu-jitsu. Like that, you should have to. I get what you mean. I think a psychiatric evaluation would do a lot better than training them in jiu-jitsu. Aye.
Because if you're a nutter and you get trained jiu-jitsu, you're just going to be a nutter that knows what they're doing. I think they need a psychiatric evaluation first.
But did they not get that before?
No, really. They get like a week's worth of training. They should get constant, brought in every other week.
Which they don't do. The issue as well that they're let's see the training they set these people in with. It's like minuscule. So a lot of them, again, it might come back to fear. So they don't. Like they think, oh fuck, this guy's going to do whatever he is. So their first thought is fuck, get a gun it.
Well, I suppose when the police are being called into a situation, they already go into the situation knowing this isn't going to be good because nobody funds the police for a good time. You know what I mean? So by the time they've already got the call, they think, right, what we're walking into, and they'll be on edge already. So I mean, you put a gun in that situation, somebody's already, because like a lot of folk give the police shit, and I mean rightly or wrongly, but their job is hard. I would think. Nobody funds the police in when everything's gone good. You get brought in when the shit's already kicked off. You bring a gun into that situation if the other person has a gun. I mean, everybody in America seems to have a fucking gun. I don't know about that. I don't know what their deal is. There's always guns everywhere. It would seem. I've only been there once and I never saw any. Well, that's not true actually. I seen the folk at the airport had machine guns. That was cool. When you're 9, you see a machine gun for the first time in real life.
You see it, and like, see when I'm on a lot of like threads, like on Facebook and social media, and I know it's not the best place to get your information, but you're getting it kind of first hand for people. Where if there's a situation that happens, let's say two people getting into an altercation, or two folk are arguing, the first thought process in a lot of their heads is, I'd shoot him in the face. And does it really? That's a bit fucking extreme.
I don't know. I think when I was on the doors, I used to joke, like, if I had a gun, I would definitely shoot a couple of these people.
They're not joking. They've got guns.
Aye.
I tell you, at least training is target practice as well.
Aye. Again, though, when you get brought into one of these situations, you don't know, like, if you're getting caught into a domestic abuse situation or a drug raid or something. By the time you've been phoned, you'll already be nervous because you don't know what you're walking into. Like, I keep saying it, but nobody brings the police in for a good time. Like, something's obviously went wrong if the police have been phoned. So these guys, a lot of them have got families and stuff. They must be thinking, right, am I going to get to see my wins again? What's going to happen when we get into this place? Am I going to walk into a hail of bullets or something? I don't know. They must be on edge permanently. The way a soldier would be.
No.
I mean, soldiers don't get called in when everything's gone all right.
I think you're right. I think they are stressed that they're not. So all that extra training, like, because John Kavanagh, he's really pushing for it, for the guard over in Ireland, for them to become trained in jiu-jitsu, and he was opening up his gym to start.
How would jiu-jitsu help a gun situation though?
They don't have guns in Ireland.
No, I mean in America, if they're calling for a training like that in America.
Not everybody they're shooting in America's got guns. That's the issue.
No, and that's what I'm saying. How would coming into a situation in America trained in jiu-jitsu help you if the guns come?
But no, that's the point we're trying to make here. Not every situation in America's got a gun. So you don't have a gun for every situation. So it's like
the police have guns though in every situation. Is that what you're saying? They should take the guns off the police? Is that what you mean?
No,
Is
we're
the
talking
police
about
always something?
people being trained, because when you look at it, what happened to who is the famous? Well, not the famous guy, but the guy that got killed, George Floyd. Let's see the George Floyd situation, something like that. If a guy knew how to do jiu-jitsu properly, he would know that being on that guy's airwave is going to choke him out.
I don't know. I don't have the answers for how America fixes its police.
I think
I'm
I think it's
having a
that way.
big-
Having the how are you on about the police being more trained? But anyway,
I don't know.
having the police more trained in ways to dissolve things without really hurting people, it can only be a positive. But if you know how,
So,
if they know how to restrain people properly, it can
well,
only be a positive.
whatever our police do here, our police don't kill nobody. Maybe the Americans should start doing what our cops do. Nobody ever gets killed by the police here.
Nah,
And if they do, it's like terror suspects in London. Like nobody in Britain ever gets done in, very rarely, and virtually never in Scotland that I've heard of.
what you see with them over here is they go in with their batons and they hit people in the head. I've seen
I would
plenty
do.
of footage of people being hit in the head that didn't need to be hit in the head.
I would too, though. A lot of that footage you see, it's folk coming into big like riot situations and stuff. If I had the baton and I was a policeman in a riot situation, I'd be doing it too.
No, one of the ones I seen, it wasn't a riot situation. It was a young boy. He was at a
Now,
football game.
what was happening? Like, what was the context?
There was, I don't know. I think it might have been art shouting, bawling, and all that. But even at that, you don't run in and hit somebody in the head, because I think you need to be careful. Like, see if you hit somebody in the head, if you hit them in the wrong place, they fall and they can die. So that's where extra training comes in.
Always good to watch these things when you see the footage being taken or somebody being heavy on it, because 9 times out of 10 there's excess footage that shows the build up to how they got into that situation, and it never gets revealed. So maybe the guy that get clubbed did something to deserve it, and they just never released that bit of the footage.
But
You know what I mean? Like they always just show you the bit that's happening. They don't ever show you the build up, and there's always a build up.
does a young,
Very rarely somebody just go out and smack somebody for no reason.
does a
There's
young
normally
guy
some.
well,
When you say young, like what are we talking here? Like 6 or
16.
a teenager?
between 16 and 18, roughly, that was his age. That was
Well, I've
essentially a kid.
never seen it, so I mean I couldn't really
Aye.
comment. But normally there's footage that doesn't make it to the internet that shows you the build up of why they got to that situation. So I don't, and without having seen it, I couldn't possibly tell you.
I think just running and hitting people in the head, it just doesn't sit right with me for some reason. I don't know why.
Maybe I wasn't there. Maybe the boy did something to deserve it. I don't know.
I seen the state he was in, and you were watching it, you're going, what, the police did that to you? If I done that to somebody in the street, it's attempted murder.
Again, though, we don't know what caused that. Did the guy just go up to the boy and hit him for no reason, or was there like 5 minutes of footage that nobody else has seen that shows you why he did that?
I'm trying
Until
to
you,
remember the footage, but the police officer runs at him.
but why? What was the boy
He's
doing?
standing there with like his mum and his dad.
So he's not shouting or doing anything. He's just standing there with his family.
I don't think so. From what I gather, he wasn't involved with what was actually going on. So it was at a football match, and I think it was something like 2 sets of fans were like, trying to get at each other, or something like that. And some kid gets like scuddied in the head with a fucking baton.
Well, again, I'll say it again. Like, having worked these sorts of games, it's a stressful situation because Fitba fans, I don't like them 9 times out of 10. I think they're largely tossers, to be honest with you. And I think if I was called in to deal with a riot at a Fitba game, that's probably how I would deal with it too. You'd be on edge thinking maybe I'm going to get balled.
That goes against everything you learn. Like, you're trained not to go for the head.
Well, again, it's all fine, well and good until you're in a riot situation and you're trying to defend yourself. You know what I mean? Maybe not in this particular instance that you're talking about, but generally, Fitba riots get a bit out of hand. And that's an understatement. They get quite a bit out of hand. And it's all well and good being trained, but if you're in that situation and it comes to the point where you're trying to defend yourself, are you going to think, oh, maybe I should just hit this guy in the legs? No, you'd be trying to save your own life. That's how I would look at it anyway, if I was in that situation.
And I think that's how you're not a policeman, Blair.
I've never tried to be a policeman.
The psychiatric evaluation has gone on here.
No, I always do hate that. Like, oh, you shouldn't do this in that situation. Riots only that black and white, man. There's shades of grey. If you're in a riot and it's all kicking off and you've got the means at your disposal to defend yourself, you're going to panic, maybe, and think, I'm never going to see my wife again or my children. And there's Fitba hooligans running around about you with like Molotov cocktails or whatever. You would be gone for the heat. I defy anybody to tell me otherwise. Well, I'm going to try and put this guy with a knife in a choke while there's a riot and fireworks going off around about me. No, you would try and incapacitate them as quickly as you could.
But that's
It's human nature.
But you're using the extreme examples here to against the point that I'm trying to make. Like the point that was made was just general. Let's see general situations that you can use that police officers should be trained in jiu-jitsu to be able to restrain people properly.
I get what you mean.
Rather than just because I avoid a lot of sticky situations, and I think it'll help the police out more. Because how often do you see it? Like 3 police officers try to pin one person down and they're struggling. But I think we need to help the police out a wee bit more. We get them so they know a bit more about what they're doing. Because I think the training they get's a bit.
I couldn't speak to their training. I don't know any police officers. I don't know what they go through.
Aye.
I would be guessing. I don't know.
I'm not going to say anything else because I know folk in the police and it just doesn't sound. But the get isn't great. It's like
right. Fair enough.
It's like pish. Fuck.
People should just behave though, shouldn't they? They shouldn't need to teach the police to do these things. People should just not be cunts.
I agree, but
that was my biggest takeaway for being a bouncer. Like, go and have a night out and no be a cunt. It's not hard. I've done it a million times myself. Don't snort a line.
A lot easier if that was the case.
Don't go snort a line of coke in the toilet and be a prick to everybody. Like, it's that straightforward. Just don't do it.
Aye. Those that are on coke are usually the opposite. They're usually the ones telling the bouncers they love them.
Ash, I have never had a good experience with somebody in the nightclub on coke. And it was my job every weekend.
The drinkers.
Oh, the coke fiends are worse, I tell you. I've had to deal with both, I've been paid to deal with both, and the coke fiends are worse. They're way worse.
I suppose I think it might just depend on the person. I think if someone's a prick, things like drugs and drink will just escalate that.
It does, aye.
It kind of false sense of security.
I never helped them any. That's why I don't like people, largely because of the job I was in. It's an often negative view.
It's quite funny that we're talking about this because I was talking about it last night with Ross Cooper, the pro MMA fighter, because he was on the podcast. I mean, we did get into a wee bit about it, about how we both feel if more people were trained, a lot less people would be pricks.
Maybe.
It wouldn't.
I can see like the martial arts side, so it's a discipline.
Aye, that's mostly what we're saying. We feel it's a discipline. Folk aren't as intense in situations. You'll always get arseholes, right? You'll always get folk like him for the Karate Kid that use it against people. Like
he was he was in the right.
I was on about the new Karate Kid. See the one with Jaden Smith?
The one with Jaden Smith in it.
Jackie Chan's in it.
I'm talking about. I haven't seen that one. Just the proper one.
He was just going about beating up Jaden Smith for no reason. He was a prick.
Jaden Smith's a prick. No, but how badly does that speak to the behaviour of the general public, where we think it would be better if everybody knew how to do karate or something to make them behave better? Folk just shouldn't be such pricks. Nobody would have these problems. You know what I mean? How terrible is everybody's general behaviour, but it's a good idea to insinuate that everybody should get trained in MMA to make them more disciplined. Folk should be disciplined by their fucking parents when they're young. The way I was, the way everybody else I ken was. I was never a dick as a child. I'll never punch somebody when they did something to deserve it. You know what I mean? Folk should just be raised properly and we wouldn't have these fucking situations. And it's a problem because most parents are fucking scummy assholes too. You know what I mean? It bleeds done. They need discipline. My grandma taught us where I would and spin and everybody behaved. I mean, you're not to hit your children anymore and it turns folk into pricks. And by hit them, I don't mean beat the shit out of them, obviously. I'm not an advocate of child abuse. That's obviously terrible. Like, I would never say otherwise. But I used to get a wee slap about the head if I done something wrong and I never done it again. You know what I mean? Because that's like my parents were raised that way. And you learnt not to do certain things because of the fear of the consequences. It was never like a lashing with a belt or whatever. It was never like a biblical type shit. It was just a wee fucking do that, you prick. Slap across the head. You're raised better for it, I think.
I'm not sure about that because I was never hit off my dad. But
were you a wee prick when you were a teenager?
No, I was a bit bad when I got older, but I didn't do it.
You wouldn't have been if your dad slapped you.
No, he didn't need to. There was just a fear there.
Oh,
it was one of the ones he just had to give you a look.
Generally speaking, that was the case.
I think most people when they're younger they're a bit kind of off the rails.
Aye, but like firm discipline curbs that the way you would break a dog. Break a dog. Train a dog. Train sounds nicer. No break.
Funnily enough, once I started doing Muay Thai as a kid, I started calming down, and I was getting in less trouble at school.
See, I did like a month of Muay Thai training when I was 18 and just hated it. So I never really learned anything.
I'm not just
not because my teacher was bad. I don't enjoy that sort of thing.
I'm not just saying that it's martial arts that can teach you that. Like, I think any sport to a degree would. It was Muay Thai.
National service.
Mandatory national service. Nothing but disciplining a young man like sending them to the army. I'm not even being facetious. I'd be quite genuine about that.
What, are you gonna go?
I wanted to be in the army when I was 15, but it broke my mum's hip. Then I didn't want to be that guy. That was my thing when I was a teenager. I wanted to join the military. I'm too fat now and old and too fond of the fags. I smoke too much. But
no, you're still in your 20s. You're in your peak. I think you should go by example.
I'm nearly knowing my 20s though. I'll be 30 next year.
But I think we're making excuses now. I think you should.
I don't want to break. I'm not so callous that I want to break my mum's hip. You know what I mean? With the whole conversation about it, and she was in tears and stuff. I'm like, that's not for me. I don't want that in my conscience. But no, I'm not saying sending them to actual war. Like there's not a lot of wars being fought in the world, generally speaking, compared to history. I mean, just like the service, send them away to the training for 6 months, bring them back a new man. You know what I mean? Or a new woman. It's 2020. Women can be soldiers too. Fling that in. It's just good discipline. I'm not saying send them away to kill people for no good reason, but it'd be good. The training's good for you. I would think. No? You just don't like it. You're just anti-military though, so you're obviously going to have a negative view about it.
No.
This is a fun modern studies class.
I know. we covered all this ground in college. You just don't like the army, so you're going to have a negative view.
It's not that I dislike it. I disagree with a lot of the things that go on there. Like a lot of the things that we don't know about that goes on the training. Like I don't know.
Being formed in and made anew.
I was because I had a family member that was in it, and he used to go on like some of the things that used to happen, especially to young boys in the army. It was horrible.
What? You can't start and then no tell us. What was it?
It's one of the ones I'm a bit kind of like.
Don't name names, obviously, but you can't start with that situation and no tell us.
I think there was a lot of folk getting kind of fucking felt up, a lot of kind of abuse, a lot of folk just getting battered.
That's not specific to the army though. That's because maybe they didn't screen out a paedophile the right way. You know what I mean?
But it wasn't a paedophile. It was like, I say young boys. It was like guys 18.
Right, well, being touched up is still a bit. I don't think that's part of their mantra. I think maybe that was just a couple of ranging sergeants.
There was a lot of shit like that going on. A lot of folk getting done in for like very little reason, and it was just apparently it was just a horrible place to be.
I don't think it sounds fun. Is that not the point? So what folks say about prison, it's a horrible place to be. I think it's supposed to. Is that not the point?
But with prison, you can't. Most of the time, you've kind of done something to be there, whereas.
It's the same with the army, isn't it? Like they don't just come and take you. You've got to join. It's not like they're coming and seizing you.
What we're talking about now is we're talking about national service, where it's compulsory.
How many of them are really like him? They would. It's no perfect. If that sort of behaviour is going on, then I wouldn't think they would need to screen a bit better.
I hope that's not what goes on now. I'm talking about what this was going on about maybe 20, 30 years ago.
I still can't imagine that was part of their thing though. That was what they all did. It sounds like a couple of ranging sergeants to me.
Aye.
Rather than being the actual core philosophy of the army.
You can only go off of experiences you've heard of.
True, but I've ken a fair few folk in the army and they've had nothing but good things to say about it. So I mean, maybe I think it was just a couple of ranging. A couple of my family members were in the army and one of my old pals was in the army too.
That's my hope.
I don't think that's part of the thing.
No, but I'm just saying that's obviously what I think was
what he experienced, which is obviously horrible. Yeah. I mean, it's no good whether it's part of the norm or isn't it. It's still no good and it should be stopped. But a few ranging sergeants out the equation, I still think it would probably be the best thing for building discipline.
I don't know. I think it's easy to say that when you're maybe getting to the age that you'll no be there. Like, it's easy to say that the younger folks should get it.
Well, Oh, I told you already wanted to do it.
Aye.
My mum literally gritted me not to do it. I don't want to be that wee arsehole that breaks his ma's hip. I mean, it was what I was gone today. My dad signed off on it.
So you're going to break millions of other mods' hearts.
How? We're not in war. We're not at war with anybody.
Anything can happen.
Oh, pish. We've come too far for a war. The nuclear deterrence there's too much money being made in commerce for there to be another war that we're involved in. A proper war. I don't mean like an occupation in some desert state for reasons. One reason or another. I mean a proper war, like a world war. It'll never happen again.
Nah. I don't, it'd just be who presses a button quicker.
No, even that. The amount of commerce that gets made between all these nations and trade, none of them want to miss out on it.
No.
That's why this stuff between America and China, that will never come to actual guns. Never. They make too much money off one another. Money. It talks, boys.
Money talks.
And anyway, and even if I was sent to the army to shoot some fucking stranger, I'm probably not going to care about his ma's broken heart because I've never met her. You know what I mean? That's the sort of mind I have. Like if I don't know them, then I don't care as much. I'd be perfect for the army actually with that sort of mentality. I don't care as much if it's not somebody I'm like connected to, because there's too many people in the world. You can't be connected to all of them. It's not possible. Too many people.
You can still have empathy.
No that much empathy though, because you end up depressed, wouldn't you? That's not good. You don't want that.
Empathy doesn't work in war.
In combat, you're like when you're trying to kill one another, I feel like maybe you would drop your empathy at the door.
That's probably how I wouldn't want to do my national service. I don't think I could shoot somebody.
Again, you wouldn't be having to shoot anybody because we're not at war.
Aye, but imagine we did, right? Imagine we did and went, oh, we're going to Iraq again. Oh, we're going to Afghanistan. Oh, we're going to Palestine. Like something like
Shoot yourself in the foot.
Aye, we're going to East and then you're like essentially dragging guys that don't want to be there away and going, right, you need to shoot somebody now.
You could do your national service as in like a pseudo training camp, but just at the army.
Aye, that's basically what it is. That's what the Koreans do, innit? They get mandatory national service, but they don't send them to the combat.
Like Kim Min Son didn't need to shoot anyone.
Aye, you get sent away for however long it was today. The boot camp, training and stuff.
I think it's like a month or something they do it for.
Right, they do it in Norway too, I think. Norway have national service and they're not at war when they do. It's a thing that countries can do. It's good for your training. But we're not engaged in an active war. You might get sent to, we're still in Syria or Afghan, I think, but again, I don't know how much combat, I don't know anything about that really, so I'd be loath to speak about it.
No,
but generally speaking, we know what a full-on war we need, you know what I mean? So, I think service would be alright in that situation, it'd just be the training. Which still looks hellish when you see videos of some of the training, it looks really bad. I smoke way too much to be able to get through that.
I don't know. It just doesn't. See, just
you just don't like the military. We've been over this. We covered all this in college.
I don't like the idea of forcing people to do stuff that they don't want to do, especially when you're by that age of school. Like forcing people to go and commit that, like, do national service.
Forcing everybody to learn jiu-jitsu is any better?
You're not forced to learn jiu-jitsu. It's just.
Is that not what you said you wanted? You think everybody should be made to train jiu-jitsu? And
I'll say that I think they should be made. I think if loads of folk learned martial arts, the world would probably be a better place. And I think that's an opinion. It's not.
I don't know.
Everyone
everybody in Imperial Japan knew martial arts, and they were all bastards. The Bushido people, they were all fairly horrible to one another. They gutted themselves with swords if they brought shame on their house. I don't know how great that is.
Oh, the samurais.
The Bushido people for Japan. Whatever they were called. That martial arts, the skills are transferable. I don't know. It's all about shame and honour, isn't it, martial arts?
Oh, not really. It's more
like shame on your house. Or did they not do that anymore?
No.
I think that might have died with that.
That's Stone Age shit.
Did that die with the samurai?
That died. That's dead and buried. Like all that karate shit. Nah, fuck that. It's not just become too. But karate, that's too fucking commercialised. It's pish.
Karate's too commercialised.
They fucking touch each other. It's fucking fannies.
See, the bloodthirsty side of you comes out now. The army's too brutal, but the karate folk don't hit hard enough.
It's not they don't hit. They don't hit. It's like fucking touch pish. Nah, how's that going to happen? It's supposed to be.
It's the same as fencing.
It's pish.
I I couldn't do defence and you put a sword in my hand, the Vikings coming up. Trying to hack somebody to bits.
And I don't get fencing because it's not a transferable skill. Like
It depends. If you're being attacked by a group of people while you've got your fencing sword on you, you might be able to keep them at bay. But it's very specific, innit? You need to have your sword on you.
Aye, and
You could go full Zorro on folk, you know what I mean?
The hand back.
Aye, like the horn, all that.
they sharp at the end.
On guard. All that good shit.
Are they
You
even
need to do
sharp
that.
at the end? The swords.
I have no idea. I have no
I
idea.
I think they're blunt.
Aye, so it's not going to work. You're like essentially
Aye.
try to stab folk with a toothpick.
I think it's basically like a buzzer. So like if you hit
Aye.
them, it goes off, makes a wee sound. So you
That's
win.
what I thought. It's like something at the
Ah.
end.
Would the average street thug know that your sword in a ship? Would they know this? Or would they just see you produce a sword and think, oh, Jesus, I'm going to get hacked to bits and run away? Nah, see,
The
this is the
sword-
question.
The swords look like the thing that you clean your ears with. But a cotton
Aye,
bud,
but
it's a long
really
Q-tip.
big. You're telling me if somebody come running at you with a massive, like 5 feet long Q-tip, you would be a bit freaked out, but
Like,
that would freak me out a bit.
like somebody running at you like Puss in Boots.
Somebody comes in going full Zorro, they get the horn up and everything. Nah, you wouldn't try and throw horns with it, I don't think.
No, you get nowhere near.
Yeah. Unless you're like, I don't know, Crocop and you used to murder terrorists for a living. You need to be one of these sorts of fuckers, I would think, but the average person, no.
You just grab it and snap it.
Right, shaggy, man.
I don't think you'd be allowed to carry a fencing sword about me. But
Has it ever been explicitly said that you can't?
does that come under offensive weapons?
No, if it's blunt at the end, surely. How does it work? See, I'm a big believer in saying unless you're specifically told no, then you've not
You
done
do
nothing right. Right, like but say, my defence is like if you were in supermarket sweep, right, unless they explicitly tell you can't bludgeon the other competitor's knees in, I'm going to do it. You know, paintballing, unless I'm specifically told and I get my paintballing, don't kidnap nobody and torture them for information. Then I'm probably going to do it. Because I like to win, you know what I mean? I'm a winner. Do you want to go on a company paintballing trip?
No. Where's the rest of your team?
Where is everybody? Get like the water and the cloth.
They're in sector B3. Good boy. No.
And shoot them in the neck.
Uh,
How did we get to this stage? What were we even talking about? How did we get for Hollyoaks honeys to like the army being bad?
I don't know.
Well, I don't think they are. I'm quite big on the army. I don't think they are bad. And then we're going to get into like a political sphere here, and we're going to upset folk one way
Oh
or
no,
the
no.
other.
I think they serve a good purpose. I think for a lot of the time for the army, they're kind of made to do the job that the schools didn't. See, for a lot of kids, like
I'm saying it's excellent for that sort of thing.
a lot of young boys like, leave school and the school's done nothing for them. They've no gave them the right qualifications. So for a lot of folk, they need to go to the army to gain qualifications.
You can get trades and everything.
Mechanic.
Engineers and stuff.
You're proving my point for me.
No,
It's good for
no.
you.
I'm because you were saying I hate them and I don't like anything about them. And I was saying no. I think for a lot of the
It came across in college that you hated them.
I've got open opinions. So I see,
Oh.
the job. I see the job they do for a lot of young guys that the schools didn't, or the schools could fail to do.
That's very big of you to recognise you've made progress since we were in class together. You think we should go full ham and have like a politics ever? I don't know. Because everybody does that now, don't they? Everybody talks politics now.
Everyone's a politics
Do
podcast.
you want to-
Everyone's
you want to-
everyone's a professional as well. Where like there's no wiggle room at times, and you're a bit like.
I see, I have that problem with a lot of people that I know, because I've been studying politics for the last 5 years. I did it 4 years at college, I'm doing it at university, you know. So I don't know how the political system works, and like the average person on Facebook doesn't. So when you see folk posting things about politics, that they think their opinion is the gospel of Paul, when you're like, no, that's actually wrong. But there's no way to tell somebody that, because then they'll think, oh, that's just your opinion. I'm like, no, what you're saying is actually wrong. Like, it's factually erroneous. Word of the day. Erroneous.
Erroneous.
I think erroneous has already been the word of the day. I think that was the second episode that erroneous was used.
I
Alright,
think so.
I'll manage to shoehorn another cool sounding word into this conversation somehow. Just give me a minute to think of it.
Poultice.
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 Poultice is a good one.
I
Get a
did
poultice.
last week.
Aye, right enough. Folk on Facebook that think their political opinions are the gospel of Paul are poultices. Or poltai, what would the plural be? Poltai.
I'd say Paul Ty.
Poltai is a good one. Yeah. A team of poltai.
Because I've started
A
to
team of Paul Ty.
quite pissed off on Twitter because I'm seeing a lot of people who are like self-proclaimed socialists, feminists, etc., now backing Joe Biden. And I'm like, you're
I think
compromising everything that you stand for to back that.
everything about the American political system is hilarious to me. Because again, like that was one of the things we studied at college was the American system. So I sort of know how that one works. I know, and the fact that I know. You don't even want to get into it because then folk are going to accuse us of being one side or the other. But I've started, so I'll finish.
No, I don't think we are. I'll put it there.
Well, I mean,
North Trump. There you go.
well, you and I definitely have very different political beliefs without getting too far into it. And Scott, I don't think he cares really one way or the other. You're one of them folk without scruples. You just sort of do your own thing, which is fine. But either way, folk hate Donald Trump so much they're willing to vote for a paedophile, which I think is hilarious. Because Joe Biden is a fucking paedophile. Right, we've all seen the photos of him hodding other folks with granddaughters, and it's creepy as shit. It's really creepy. And folk hate Trump so goddamn much they're willing to go with a paedophile instead. Either don't vote or vote for like a middle candidate if you don't like either of them. You know what I mean?
Because that's what I thought was so kind of mad about this election, because it looked like Kanye West was going to stand. And soon I heard Kanye West was going to
He's on the
Kanye
West he's on the ballot, eh?
Did they make the ballot?
Right. Oh, he's on the ballot.
Last I heard, he'd pulled out.
No, he's on the ballot. He was on the Joe Rogan show fairly recently talking about it.
Oh,
he's on the ballot.
Because that's the thing.
That's
somebody like Kanye West, he could clear up. Because folk
he need to talk policy though, wouldn't he? Because he's a fairly detestable people. A lot of folk hate Kanye West, eh? You know what I mean? A lot of people don't like the man. So I mean, you're just getting the choices as three people that folk don't like.
Aye.
There's no middle. That's what's hilarious about America. They've no middle ground. It seems like
I don't think it's such a bad thing to ask for your political leaders not to have like sexual assault cases against them.
Aye.
Don't be a paedophile. It seems.
Aye.
Then again, we've got that many like pedo rings here in our politics system. It's hard to point fingers, but it seems like folk, which obviously is horrible. It should be a thing that ever happens. But folk are so wound up with their hatred of Donald Trump that they're willing to just side with a creepy paedophile. Who he's running mate? His running mate's Kamala Harris, and up until about 4 months ago, she was saying he was a racist and a sexist and a sex pest. And now she's saying like he's the salt of the earth, like he's the risen Christ come again. They're corrupt as fuck. That's the problem with politics, man. They're odd. It's one of the many problems with politics, actually.
Is that way? Both him and Donald Trump have had so many sexual allegations made against them, and it's like.
Right.
Is that are these the guys that
That's
you
what
want
I'm saying. It shouldn't be such a big thing not to have sexual assault cases against your political leaders.
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on, Scott. I think we need to raise the bar a wee bit.
It's everywhere. Our guy Alex Salmond over here in Scotland, he got done with the cases, the charges. By the way, he went to court, didn't he? It was fun. He didn't do anything. He was fun, no guilty. I think
he did. Sexual assault. It's one of those ones that's I think it's the hardest crime to prove. So
it can be quite fake, can't it? Like what they being accused of? Is it like touching a shooter? Is it full-on rape? I mean, like it's hard to get to the bottom of what happened. It's not a job I would want.
Unless you're there, it's
tricky.
Difficult, but it's why.
And then see,
muddy water in it.
If you're the woman that's making the accusations and they're true allegations, how do you then get a wealthy person like Biden or Trump convicted? They're going to have the best fucking, like, what do you do? You'll have the best team that money can buy. Like, what do you do about that? It'd be terrible. There's always allegations. Every time there's an election coming up, all this shit comes out. Which I always think is quite curious. As somebody that like studies this thing at uni, these allegations, they don't come out very often during non-election season. It's much rarer. It's like people wait to get all the, and that's maybe the media. Maybe these women, these people did make the allegations at the appropriate time, and the media just fucking withholds them because the media are corrupt. They're every bit as corrupt and horrible. So I'm not saying it's the women that are making these accusations at the wrong time. I'm saying maybe the media just hodds on to the information until it would make for a juicier headline, because that's the sort of load on shit that lot do. You know what I mean? It's funny. No, even funny.
It's a real touchy subject because like they could be telling the truth. You just don't know.
I know. It's a bad situation to be in.
I'm glad it's not me that has to sort
Deal
all
with
that.
it. I don't know why. What is it about politics that attracts so many shady fuckers, man?
Money. Money, aye. And
even then, like the British politicians don't get paid that much.
I think for an MP,
like the Prime Minister's what, like 70, is it?
No, for an MSP for an MSP in Scotland makes 60 odd grand a year, and an MP in Westminster makes 70 odd. I think the Prime Minister makes a bit more.
Right, I thought
70 for an MP in Westminster.
I'm getting MP and MSP mixed up with the wage.
It's 60 odd.
108, is it no?
The Prime Minister makes a bit more, but a general backbencher makes 60 odd if it's the MSP, if it's Holyrood. Westminster makes 70 odd thousand. And they can take other jobs on top of that, and us. I mean, different incomes coming into different.
It's a lot of like the subsidised and all that, and the allowances.
Remember that? I don't know if do you remember that scandal. That's quite a while ago now. The MPs were claiming expenses for really stupid shit.
Aye, like one of them claimed expenses for a lemon from Asda.
Aye, it was extremes. It was like tiny things like a lemon, and one of them built a moat in his private residence or some shit like that, and try to claim it back and taxpayers' money. So maybe don't build fucking moats, son. It's not the 17th century. Try to protect against an invasion. Like what the fuck?
Like for your semi-detached.
A lot of it was coming to a head like a couple of years ago because a lot of the MPs they were getting shit because see when they were travelling from like Scotland to England, it had to be business class or first class that they were going down in. They wouldn't go in coach. Well, a lot of folk were getting a bit pissed off with that. They were like that. Because the prices is sometimes like £70 a difference. Or maybe not as excessive as £70, but it's a big difference, like a big jump. And a lot of folk were going like, "Why are you not going in coach?" and all that. Or because it's quieter in first class, and we need to do our work on our way.
It's also to that I would say it's a 40-minute fucking flight for Glasgow to London. How much work are you going to get done, you prick?
I think it was on the trains as well.
On the trains, right? I thought you meant flights. I thought you meant flight.
But even at that,
because it's like a 40-minute flight.
A standard coach, you could get your laptop out and you could work away to a degree.
All day, all your work before you're gone.
Aye.
Be frugal.
Everybody else does listen to a podcast. I hear the Always Wild one's good.
Right.
Listen to that in England. Fucking brilliant.
Shameless plug.
That's
what I'll do.
It's sad because you never get another body that can kind of dictate their own wage. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they can vote on their own wage. Like if they want a wage rise, which they've just took, by the way, they took one a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago. They've decided that during COVID, it's been such a fucking stressful time for them that they deserve a wee pay rise.
They voted against the NHS pay rise.
I know.
Oh, we can't afford to pay the nurses, but to you, it's fucking sat and done fuck all for, I don't know, 6 months. There you go.
And, in England, the nurses and doctors need to pay for parking at the hospital.
I always think that's... See, when you look at the Scottish health service and then you hear like that compared to England, you're like, fuck.
Aye.
It's scary.
Like we went down there 2 years ago because Lisa's grandmother had a heart attack and I was like so confused. It was down in Durham and there was just like Bupa ambulances and everything, like private hire ambulances. And I'm like, my God. And I needed to pay like 15 quid to be there for like a couple hours.
Fuck's sake.
Aye.
They need to pay for their prescriptions as well.
I know.
Yeah, it's mad.
We're not a lot alike, are we? The Scottish and the English. Folks say we're supposed to be because we're part of the same like unified state, but we've a lot of subtle differences between us. That folk maybe not feel here don't understand.
Quite a big difference.
Right, it does. It makes an awful difference. So if anybody, you said a couple of weeks ago, a lot of your site traffic is for folk outside of Britain. So anybody that's outside of Britain that listens to this or watches this, don't think we're all the same because we're not. There's a lot of differences.
Aye.
So never call an Irishman an Englishman. Something bad will happen to you.
So
I don't know that we're Irish, we're Scottish, but
For the-
you know,
Aye.
For
obviously.
the listeners in America, let us just paint a wee picture for you here. See if I decide to stand up at my window and jump out and I break my ankles, I don't need to pay for that. The hospital will treat me.
Aye.
No, that's a bad example. I'm jumping out my window.
I was just going to say, because in that situation, you should absolutely be paying for that yourself.
Aye, because that's you
You
being
know what I
sure.
mean?
an added strain on the NHS. But no,
Aye.
if anything happens to me, look, we don't need to pay for it. Well, we do, because I pay national insurance every month from my wage, so we do pay for it to a degree. So when they tell
Aye.
you it can't be done,
It's not really free, is it? Because we get taxed like fucking nothing else in this country.
it's
We get so many taxes.
British national insurance. That's what essentially.
Aye, but on top of everything else, it's just
Aye,
expensive
and
to
then
live
you've got
here.
your income tax and all that stuff. But we won't go into that. Keep your analogy going.
If we're being completely fair here about this comparison, though, the standard of healthcare in America is way better than us. People go to America from all over the world because they've got the best surgeons. Folk in Canada has universal healthcare like we do, and a lot of folk in Canada go to America for major operations because it's a better standard. So if we're being completely fair, we need to fling that in there and plug that.
Absolutely, but they've got a lot of Americans go down to
Mexico.
South America. Aye, Mexico as
Aye.
well. And
Aye,
to
but
South
for very
America
specific,
for-
for very specific things.
that's- you get specialists in kind of
Aye, we should
every
keep that
realm.
though.
Is that not for like stem cell shit though that most places in the civilized world don't do?
Aye,
Anytime I've heard of that, it's for folk going to get stem cells injected into their knees
or you can.
because
there's
most
things-
places in the civilized world don't do that.
It's that way you get specialists that in kind of everything. So it's not
It's
right.
actually shady black market people injecting folk with stem cells.
It's no
Nowhere
surprise
else.
that America's leading because they're a huge country and they're leading in everything else. So why wouldn't they be leading in Medicare? I don't think it's a reflection on whether they pay for it or not.
Oh, it absolutely is. When you pay for something, it's better. That's like a general rule of marketing.
Why is the
The best things in life are never. The
Why
best
is
things in
With
life are
America,
never free.
it's slightly different because you do get maybe a better standard, but the prices are ridiculous.
Oh no, absolutely. That's
Like,
what
you
I'm
need to pay
getting
like
at.
a
Way
grand
through the year.
just for the
Aye.
ambulance to the hospital.
Aye, it's insanely pricey. I'm not saying that the prices are accurate or proper. What I'm saying is they've got the best of everything for a reason.
Because
They've the best trained
lawyers
surgeons.
as well.
so the best of the best go to
They're
America.
leading, America leads in most things. So
Aye,
medicine's
they do. But they pay for everything though. Nothing in America's free. You're saying they've got the best lawyers in the world. Aye, it's not like law school is free. When you pay for something, it's usually better. You know what I mean? If you get a free meal, it's normally cheap shit. If you pay for a good meal, it's best to give. It's the same in healthcare. It's just a conversation a lot of folk don't want to have. Not that I'm suggesting that we change for healthcare. I'm just saying, for being fair to this subject, America's prices are extortionate, but they've got the best surgeons in the world.
But I think that's only relevant for some cases. I think generic things that you've got wrong with you, you'll be fine.
I
think it's-
maybe.
Well, I've had operations in my hand because I broke my hand and it worked all right.
That's a horn operation, though.
Aye.
That's not exactly like brain surgery. I'll put it to you this way, right? We have free healthcare in America, Disney. And a couple of years ago, we had this spate in Britain, rises of gangrene, folk going into the hospital for minor operations and contracting gangrene. It says I've been muted. Can you still hear me?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, right, cool. Right, so there was a whole wave. I don't know if it was in our level 6, Scots. You maybe remember this. You remember what lecturer was it? I can't remember her name. One of the wee women. I feel like it was the history woman that she had red hair. Diana, I think her name was.
Oh yeah, Diane.
Her daughter or some relation to her works in the healthcare field, and they had at the time to open up several thousand new specialist centres all over Britain because of the rise in cases of gangrene. Because the quality of the hospitals is so bad, they're so dirty. Everybody was folk were getting in for simple operations and contracting bilateral gangrene. Now that didn't happen in America because their standard is much better than us. Our hospitals are way cleaner than us. I'm just saying, like, sometimes when you get something for free, it doesn't always work out to the best of its ability.
Well, when is this issue out? At Cross House at the start of the pandemic, they actually sacked their cleaners to save on money.
Yeah, well, right.
Which
You
makes
wouldn't
no
have
sense.
to. Exactly. Now that could be a case for more government funding, and could also be a case for a tithe for the population. It could be a case for both, actually,
Aye.
if we were being reasonable.
I think it's that way as well. I think we need to be quite. I don't want to get down the route of starting to kind of maybe bash hospitals out here because I think there's a lot of great.
No, I'm just pointing.
I'm just,
I'm not bashing them.
I'm just trying to
I'm
put
pointing
this
out.
in case this gets misinterpreted in any way. But,
Aye, right. Fair enough. If anybody's listening to it, I'm not bashing them. I'm saying that the standard isn't always great. And it's not the fault of the folk that work there. It's a money issue. And you don't have money issues if you pay for the services that you're using. If you went to a restaurant and they served everything for free, the quality in the restaurant would be terrible because they wouldn't be making any money. They wouldn't be able to hire folk to clean. They wouldn't be able to hire good chefs. It's the same in healthcare. It's just not a conversation we want to have.
It's just I can't be asked by some wee snivelling bastard listening to this and misinterpreting everything that was said and taking things out of context. It's a way of preempting the bollocks.
I get nothing but respect for the folk. I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm saying it's a monetary issue. If you don't have a lot of money,
it's bigger than the hospitals.
It's a case of if folk were paying for things they were using in the hospitals wouldn't then need to rely on government funding. They would have a constant source of income because people would be paying for the service that we receive. So then the standards of healthcare would be higher than what they actually are. That's why America's healthcare is better than us. It's not because it's America and they have the best of everything. It's because the premiums are ridiculous. They should never be that dear. But you were saying it's $1,000 just for an ambulance is insane. That's why
like you're saying if you're paying for it, it's going to be in the same level.
I never said the same level.
No, but my point, like America being better, is we've got private healthcare in the UK. Like jobs, it's not as good as America. That was the kind of point that I was making as well. Like America.
Oh no, I think our private healthcare might be on this sort of stand. I would think. I'm not talking about just generic healthcare. I mean like severe operations and things. They seem to produce the best surgeons at their colleges and their academies.
Well, like when you break it down to like person to person, like if someone gets like appendicitis and they've not got like $3,000 for the surgery, they won't be able to pay for it.
No, that's terrible.
It's all well and good having the best health service, but if the general population can't afford it, then.
Right, I've been quite clear in that aspect that the premiums are insane. There should be a middle ground. There's never any balance in these things. It's either everything's at $2 a year or everything's free. In either way, the people end up suffering. A balance would be required, I would think.
I think it's all well and good saying it's free. Like it's healthcare's free. See when you're paying every month, like your national insurance, then it's no free because we are essentially paying for it.
Let's be honest.
Free at the point of use.
Let's be real about national insurance though. It's like £2 a month or £2 a fortnight.
It's
not. I remember seeing on my last couple of paychecks. I remember seeing the breakdown. No paychecks, their own computer. But I remember they shows you the breakdown, and the national insurance was to the tune of £2. £2 off every paycheck is not a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Because I'm trying to remember what I was paying at my last job.
I think basically free.
I think mine was between about 10 and 15. 10 and 15.
How much money were you making? You've been making more money than me, obviously.
I think so, because that last job was alright. Money was quite decent.
I think the rates they differ on what you're actually.
That was my kind of thinking about it.
The percentages are different.
Which is the same with all kind of taxes, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no a blanket tax for anything really. It's all do.
No.
What were we even talking about? We've been doing so many wee rabbit holes here. I don't remember.
I feel this was meant to be about scary stuff.
Well,
it was supposed to be a Halloween episode, and instead of talking about the honeys on Hollyoaks, and now here we are debating the pros and cons of paid healthcare. How the hell did that happen?
Well, tangents is what it's all about.
Me and Martin are both very into politics. I don't have many other people to talk to it.
Recently, man, I've been losing a lot of my I've been coming out very disillusioned with politics. I'm just like party politics, especially especially
at a time like this. And people are trying to get like party points.
Exactly. People try to score party points and shit at this time because we have elections coming. In Scotland anyway, we have elections coming, and you're like the high streets are under their final nail. People can't go to work because of the pandemic. Stop trying to score brownie points in Parliament. Like shit. Politicians, what they forget is that they're there at our behest. We pick them there. They serve us. That gets lost. That somehow that get lost in the translation. You're not there for any other reason than we, the voting public, fucking pick you there. So maybe stop voting for pay rises in times where people can't get their job. And tea ladies at football teams are being furloughed, which you brought up a couple of weeks ago. It's just daft shit like that. That's why there's such apathy for politics in our country, because they keep behaving that goddamn way.
And it's quite funny you mentioned that, because I was listening to, it was a snippet for Douglas Ross, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, and what he was saying is, he was going about, see that proposal that got put forward by the Labour Party back, but the Marcus Rashford one about feeding kids at school. What he was saying is, he's like, oh, it's an amazing, it's like a good proposal, we'd want to back it, but obviously we can't back it because it's a Labour one. And I was looking at it and I was like, does it really fucking matter who's proposing it?
I've written about that guy is fucking sketchy. He's not an MSP, he's an MP for Westminster. See, when Jackson Carlaw, the previous leader of the Conservatives, get the axe,
Aye.
Boris, he gets sick. The Boris sent that guy up for Westminster. He's no fair up here. Douglas Ross, he's an MP, he's not an MSP.
Aye.
Yeah.
So the leader of the official opposition in our country, because as it stands, based on the last election, the Conservatives have the second most seats in Scotland. So they're the official opposition, and the leader of the official opposition isn't even fair up here. He's not elected by the people in Scotland. He's an MP that was sent here by the Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible.
Imagine a referee running the country.
That shouldn't happen, though. You know what I mean? You mean to tell me there was nobody else that was a backbench MSP in Hollywood for the Conservative Party that could have done that job? Crazy.
I think the way that it seems that the Scottish Conservatives go about it is they like to pick that kind of poster person, somebody that they think's likeable, to a degree, and relatable, because no many of them really are. But then I was like, why? Could you not have an MD more relatable than Douglas Ross? But nobody likes Douglas Ross. See, if you're a referee, your popularity's zilch.
Well, I'll tell you, I've met a load of the people for the air branch of the Scottish Conservatives. No, none of them are very relatable in the least.
No.
So no.
They all live in Troon.
They all live in Troon, aye. Okay, that's the thing. They're all for Troon. None of them are fair. They're all like farm barons and shit for Troon.
I think to their credit, as well as I say that begrudgingly, to the Conservative credit, they've really hoovered up a lot of the working class vote as well. And I've noticed that. I'm originally for a Drawson, and a Drawson, it's not a fancy area, but the Conservatives came second, and a Drawson won them.
Well, that speaks to a lot of things, that like the how let down people feel by Labour generally, like all across Britain, not just in Scotland. Because folk forget, like when you're on Twitter at the time, Twitter, because it's an echo chamber of cretins, had you believe that Jeremy Corbyn was the most popular human being this side of the risen Jesus? And not only is that not true, that's so not true that Boris Johnson won the biggest parliamentary majority since Margaret Thatcher. So that people have fell so far out of love with Labour because the average person in Britain does not seemingly want to embrace any sort of socialist policies. Which I agree with wholeheartedly. They've been a terrible Prime Minister.
Jeremy Corbyn's thing as well, like he was battered for pillar to post by the opposition and his own party. It seemed like he was made out to be something that he maybe wasn't.
He was designed for a different Labour, like old Labour.
But it was that way as well. Like Labour had took a resurgence in membership. There was a lot of disgruntled working class people that had maybe never voted before in their life. They were voting for Jeremy Corbyn because they seen it as a real voice for change. Like, he's the only person in my lifetime that I've seen as a real opposition that isn't just a light version of what the Conservatives.
Aye, he's definitely. That was the thing with Tony Blair, wasn't it? Like a lot of Tony Blair's policies were sort of like centre to right of centre, and Jeremy Corbyn was a socialist. He's quite far left. He's also an anti-Semite, so that turned a lot of folk off. They just did a hell inquiry about that, and he's been sacked for the party. Apparently there was findings. There was significant things.
What he gets sacked for is he gets sacked for saying that the issue had been politicised. That's what.
But he's an anti-Semite. Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't know him. personally have come out and disagreed with what was said. They said that he's not an anti-Semite. He's spent his whole life.
Well,
He spent his whole life campaigning for a better life for people.
it depends on what people he's talking about. He's done a lot of campaigning and shook a lot of hands, but very few of them with Jewish hands. So let's be real here.
It's that way as well. The word anti-Semite, it's getting thrown.
Well, there's only so many times a man can be photographed shaking the hands of the Hezbollah members before some sort of accusation is going to stick. You know what I mean? It's not like he'd only done it once. He was with them quite a bit. He's had a fair few photos taken with them. That's going to turn some people off. It's only logical that that would turn some people off. For whatever your belief about that area of the world is, they're an extreme group. Whether they're in the right or the wrong, I'm not debating that. It's a complex issue, but they're an extreme group.
No,
To be seen photographed with them is going to turn people off.
but it does, to the contrary, I don't think it makes you an anti-Semite.
Well, their whole existence is sort of anti-Semitic, rightly or wrongly, whether their views are merited or otherwise. That's sort of their whole thing. They're very anti-Israel as a state. So to be seen being photographed with them, you can see why people would then assume, if you share any of the opinions, it's reasonable to make the conclusion that maybe you harbour some views that people don't find enjoyable.
I think it
Fair assumption to make.
opens an argument. Are you anti-Semitic or are you
You anti-Israel, it's a hell.
anti-Zionist?
I'll give you it's no in shade. It's in shades of grey, that issue. But my point stands. I mean, if you're taking photos with this group, it can lead people to reasonably assume you come out one way or the other. Maybe not everybody that's as well versed in the intricacies of the subject and think, oh, he must just not like Jewish folk. It's a reasonable assumption for the average person to make. You know what I mean? I can see why folk would think that about him, based on his track record. Whether he is or whether he isn't, he certainly meets with all the right people. Quote unquote right people. You know what I mean?
Aye.
So you can see where the confusion would come from. He didn't do yourself any favours.
But
No.
I think part of the issue with it was it is folk that should maybe know better, and it is folk that should be more
That's
versed
exactly it.
on
He
the
should know a
subject,
lot better.
that are making such strong accusations and really peddling with it.
Well, he's petted in a deep dive into him and he's been sacked. So take for that what you want.
That
It
was
wasn't
I've
very
seen
good off,
different-
it was 'cause it was
I've seen different reports about that. I know. I've seen different things be said about that report.
Yeah.
So who's telling the truth? I don't know. But they did an inquiry into him and they get the sack. So I mean, that's what we're left with.
Aye, because that
One
was
side's
Keir
saying-
Hardy's, no Keir Hardy. Keir Harvey
Keir
did
Starmer.
suspend. Aye, Kramer. I was getting him mixed up with the lead.
Keir Starmer, aye.
Indeed, Labour Party. No, he said that he let him go due to his comments he made that day, which
Right.
was what he suspended him. But he was also out a few months ago claiming that he was a very close personal friend. But he just meets this. To me, he's just the same as Tony Blair. He's no real any change. It's just
You see, that's why the Conservatives have taken the second seats in places like Ardroston and Scotland overall, because Labour's so goddamn fragmented and no two members of the party can agree on anything. Some people are Blairites, some people are socialists, and the party's halved because of it. But say what you want about the Conservatives, generally speaking, they're all singing for the same hymn sheet. You know what I mean?
and how they market things, and that's really good. Like to
The
that
Conservatives,
credit, like,
they keep winning. They win a lot of elections, so they're doing something right.
well, up here when they were doing the Scottish elections, they had Ruth Davidson not really saying much, but they had her standing in a tank with a Union Jack.
It looks cool, doesn't it?
Well, you can say what you want about maybe the message that's given, but is it appealable
It's a-
to a lot of people?
It's a strong message. It's a message of strength.
Is it appealable to a lot of the people they're trying to appeal to?
Aye.
Yes. If you wave enough Union Jacks, will people want to vote for you? Probably. And I think they were the only ones that really took a strong focus on Brexit. Like that.
They did. I mean, Brexit's one of the things that smashed a lot of people. And generally, not so much under Theresa May, obviously, but under Boris Johnson, the Conservative Party have really sort of bonded together in what they want. Because when Theresa May was still the Prime Minister, a lot of the Conservatives were like, oh, we want to remain. We're like David Cameron's side, yada, yada, yada. But when Boris came in, the man sort of cleaned house up and down the country in his own party. And now the Conservatives are, generally speaking, singing for the same hymn sheet. Labour can't say that. Lib Dems can't even say that either. You know what I mean?
Because that was the thing as well. Like David Cameron, he just sprung this kind of Brexit argument out, like the referendum out of nowhere, And then
He sprung it on the public out of nowhere, but it had been brewing inside the party for decades.
because
The Conservatives had always been split on the matter of Europe. There's a lot of Eurosceptic Conservatives in the party for decades. It was sprung on the public out of nowhere, aye, but it had been brewing in the party for a long time.
in the left as well, there's a lot of Eurosceptics on the left, which
We could do it, hell. Yeah, if we've started with this show, haven't we? Should we just lean into the politics and current affairs? It's what people like. They get the views rightly or wrongly, for better or for worse. People don't care about your favourite films. People care about politics. I mean, when we stated this for the start, I had always vehemently said that we don't do the politics thing because we want to be different. But if you want to be successful, people tend to watch more political shit than they do anything else.
Well, we
Maybe
could
he's
get another channel, Always Wired Politics.
We could, but nobody seems to give a fuck what our favourite films are.
I think they've done alright. The best,
They've got 30 odd views each, man. I was looking at them yesterday. It's the interviews with the fighters are doing really well, but the ones where we're talking about our favourite film, it seems to get.
I think it's that way. It's just growing. It's like growing your brand to a degree.
We'd need to have a discussion about that, whether we lean wholeheartedly into the politics and current affairs.
Just
because I could.
how did we get into?
I have no goddamn idea. We have covered some strange ground today.
I know. It was like what we were saying last week is we wished that we had we'd recorded last week's episode because we had some real goals.
Last week we came on to record and then we ended up just like talking shit for three hours before we realised we weren't recording. And I say talking shit, but we covered everything.
Aye.
We covered science, climate change, politics, the rights and the wrongs.
The Big Bang.
We covered a lot of ground. It was interesting as hell. Maybe we should just lean into that sort of thing. I don't know. You look at YouTube and all the best shows is talking about that. I don't know. Maybe we should just lean into it.
Aye, a bit of variety is the spice of life.
Aye.
Aye.
Well, if that's what you want, put it in the comment section.
Aye.
Let us know.
Does anybody even comment on these? I put it for Ricky. Telling me.
We get a few comments.
Maybe I need to pay more attention to the analytics.
The comments have just started flowing in.
Which is
I've seen that you get accused of being a Rangers fan fairly recently, didn't you?
Yes, that was on Facebook. I'd shared that, and I was getting abuse off a Patterdale.
Martin is the least supportive person of Rangers that I have ever spoke to in real life.
It's mad. Like I feel it's like see with the Celtic support, you can't really say anything that goes against the grain without being like called out for being a Rangers fan. It's that I was like, what the fuck? Because I'd sent it to Adam Lynch, and I was like, look what you've done. Look what you've done. I was like, you've started the Celtic Ducks.
Oh man, I seen a lot of it on Twitter when I was still on it. Fitba fans. There's something about Fitba fans on the internet. 9/10 of them seem to check their brains at the door, man.
Aye.
I don't know what the problem is. Folk need to put FIFA down and have a look outside the window, I think.
Right.
I'm talking to you, Scott. There's more things in life. Bitch, please. We're pals on the PlayStation Store. I see you when you log in. Every time I come on, Scott, you and Smith, FIFA career mode. Snaking like this.
The team's doing alright.
It was funny, like a week ago, a week ago, we don't talk enough about gaming, we mostly just talk about Fitba, and Scott says, we could put a review of FIFA 21 in. That's a lot of variety, man.
I like that, Scott. I like that.
I was in the bath. I was reading the comment because I take my phone out of the bath with me to listen to Spotify because there's nothing makes a bubble bath go quicker than some death metal. It's a thing. Try it. Thank me. Anyway, I was reading when we were having that conversation. I was in the bath and I was just like, fucking rolled my eyes, put my phone away. If it's not get 11 men kicking the Fitba, Scott doesn't care about it. There's an insider scoop for the listeners there. He doesn't care about you if you don't play Fitba.
No,
have you ever looked through I went through your before I cancelled Twitter, I went through the Folk Who Follow You on Twitter, and it's like every Fitba page ever known to man, and like every Liverpool player's wife, all these different news sites about Liverpool, and I'm like, fuck, how much news do you need? Surely one covers them all.
Nah, I need all the news.
It's too much.
All the news.
It's too much.
Because funnily enough, it was Scott that told me about the lockdown happening first. He was the first person I'd heard speak about that.
Oh, aye, it's only for England.
Aye,
So
it's Wales. They're
Aye.
already in a full lockdown.
they've preventing folk from crossing the border. So
Aye, it's,
because folk were coming over from, I want to say Manchester. Folk were coming over from Manchester and spreading the virus in Wales. And the Welsh government was like, you better get them to stop that, and nothing was done, so they just shut their border out. I was like, yeah. Independent Kingdom of Wales, let's go.
Because Johnson's talking to Nicola today about going into a full national lockdown.
You can feel it coming, can't you? The end of the union. I feel like it's good. I think it's coming. Nobody wants to be in it anymore.
I think
No.
it's going. Oh, the union or the.
Like
Aye.
British Union, the
Yeah.
United Kingdom. Nobody wants to be in the union anymore.
I thought
It
we were
seems-
talking about the lockdown there. I was going to go, aye, I think they're going to do it until. I was
'Cause
like,
the-
that's no leading off to what we were saying.
The Irish, a call for Irish reunification. Scotland always has its call for independence, and the Welsh want to be separate for everybody.
Aye.
So I don't know. I feel like they might come to a
I
head.
think we'll just end up being Britain. The
Aye,
United Kingdom's going to fall.
aye. Here's the countries of Britain.
Because if there's another independence referendum, it won't be 45%.
No, I feel like it's going to be higher, doesn't it? I feel like it's going to be higher.
'Cause it was
I
that.
wonder when that's going to happen.
It was
Because
that.
that will happen.
It was that way as well. See, when independence first came about, like to get 45% was quite remarkable. Because I remember when it first started polling, because I was an advocate of it even when it first came out. But I was too young then. I was like too into Braveheart. Kidding. No, at that age I could stem an opinion. And no, I was.
Oh, I remember.
I thought, fuck it, let's go for it. Because it was like 2012, so I'd have been about 14 when it first started kind of coming about. And it was polling at like 27%, but I think 27 to like 30% was like the average at the start.
I'm always quite surprised by the result of the referendum, because every person you speak to in real life is like, "Oh, fuck England, we should be on, we're in." You know, I've never actually spoke to another human being in real life, but maybe one or two that think Scotland's better in the Union. Now, whether that's your opinion or that's entirely fine. Like, I'm not one of the folk that thinks you should be crucified for your political beliefs. If you're one of them, you believe what you want. I don't really care. But generally speaking, the people you meet in the street, you're always like, "Oh, fuck England, we should be on, we're in. We should just Scotland. We should have Queen Nicola." And I was sort of surprised when, or King Salmon at the time, it would have been King Salmon the first, because he was in charge at the time.
I think that was maybe part of the issue when it first came about that Salmon was the leader because he was not a likeable man.
That's what my gran said. She voted against him because she hates Alex Salmon.
I heard a lot of people.
I liked him until the allegations came out against him. And I don't know. You know what I mean? You can't continue to say that you like somebody while they're being investigated for sexual harassment.
Fear-mongering going on about the referendum, like the Bank of England saying that we couldn't use the pound and stuff like
But
that.
that's not so much fear-mongering as true, because the Scottish, all our banks are owned by the Bank of England, and it's them that prop up the pound, it's them that puts value against it. So in the event of an independent Scotland try to use the pound, if we had like what was the word, a recession, the Bank of England said we would devalue your money and you wouldn't be able to use it, which isn't fear-mongering that they have that power. They own the pound, essentially. So it is really up to them whether we get to use it or not. I know the SNP try to say that isn't true, but that is actually true. That's a thing. That's a thing.
So everyone was coming out with those salmon dollars.
I think Scotland, and me and my partner had a conversation about this, I think in the event of an independent Scotland, whether it comes, whether it doesn't, we should adopt the doubloon. We should bring gold doubloons back. We're starting doubloons, please. That would be cool. It's just the value of the Scottish doubloon, put it up against the American dollar, see how well it does.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Well, what else would you use? The soldiers can't have pounds. So.
That was part of the argument about it, wasn't it? They were all going, "Oh, you'll not be able to use the pound, and the pound's like, so superior." And I think it was like a couple of months after the independence referendum, the value of the pound started decreasing, like quite rapidly.
It did.
And now
the value bit maybe was scaremongering, but they were right. We wouldn't have been able to use it. And then, like a few months after the referendum was by, whoever it was that was the finance guy for the SNP at the time, I can't remember his name. It might have been John Spinney. I think he was still in the job. He came out and said, "Oh no, actually, that's true. We wouldn't have been able to use the pound." So I mean, it's a thing. Like that's not a scaremongering argument. We wouldn't have been able to use it. The Bank of England owns it.
make your own currency.
You could. That's what I'm saying. The blood back.
If you left Britain and then go into the EU,
That'll not happen either, by the way.
say your swapping your chains just from one ruler to
Exactly.
another.
That's where me and the independence movement in Scotland we disagree. You can't get away from Westminster to be subservient to Brussels. That's no independence. Because as part of the EU membership states, the law in Brussels can override your highest courts. That's no independence. Adopting somebody else's through currency also isn't independence. You'd be getting free for land is like, I don't want to sound like kingly, but you'd be breaking free for land to kneel to another. It's ridiculous. If Scotland's going to go independent, they need to be fully independent. That would be the point. Surely to Christ.
See, that was always
That
my kind of view as well.
Exactly right. I don't know why a lot of the pro-Indy people are pro-EU. That's no independence. It just isn't. That's some other foreign body telling you what you can and can't do.
That's mostly just like English haters. Like,
Aye.
well, we don't like England,
was-
so we'll go with the EU
Quite
instead.
possibly.
I think
The EU's a terrible
Scott
system anyway, man.
hits the nail on the head. I think a lot of the times, if they hear the Tories going against it, they'll go against it.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
But when it actually came to the EU referendum, I ended up voting Remain because like the whole argument behind the EU referendum, I couldn't get behind the Leave campaign. I felt it was
Because they wanted to trade with Canada and Japan. I'm just like, aye, but they're miles away. You could trade with France and Germany, which are right there.
Which we would have been able to do if France and Germany hadn't been cunts about the whole thing and tried to like strong arm Britain. See, that's always my thing about Liam. Britain is in the last time I looked anyway, which is a wee while ago, was in the top 7 biggest economies in the world. And this scaremonger campaign for the EU saying nobody will trade with you is pish. Because in the last couple of months, we have signed trade deals with Japan and other foreign countries. There's a whole other world out there beyond the EU. So the idea that we'll not make trade is stupid. It has no basis in reality whatsoever.
It's that way. Like the world, it's a capitalist society we stay in. As long as you've got something of value, folk will want it. Like
Exactly, and Britain is in the top 7 economies on planet Earth. People will trade with, people are trading with, trade deals have been signed. Love Boris or loathe the man, he has got trade deals signed. I'm not here to talk about whether you like him or not. The fact is, he's made trade deals for Britain. And Scotland wouldn't be able to join the EU anyway, because the way the system is set up, only one country has to veto the act and then it falls apart. Spain have said consistently they will veto it because we've been sticking our neck into their affairs and telling them they should let Catalonia go. It's got nothing to do with us. But Scotland's foreign policy isn't great. It's just like telling other folk what they should do.
It was that way as well. Like the Catalonians, they had a vote. It was quite substantial. Yes. Then the Spanish just went no. I'm not recognising.
Well, to be entirely fair to both sides, the Spanish government don't need to recognise it. You know what I mean? There's no part of their law. They can have the vote. The government don't need to recognise it. So it's no in their constitution.
No.
They don't have to do it. So.
But you think you would?
What can you do?
You would just go, nah, do I be here? That's fine. Go and do your own thing.
Maybe, aye, but like I'm no part of their situation, so I don't.
I mean, they got done over in the past with Portugal that way. In the past.
Aye, Spain used to own Portugal a while ago, good long while ago.
They were quite well known for that, but what the Spanish say, like to a wee bit of tea leafing, like to just go and take
a wee bit. A wee bit.
All of South America.
Brazil.
I'm from Brazil.
But what?
We get blamed for a lot of the things that they did wrong. Britain does, like our old empire. We get blamed for starting slavery. It had nothing to do with us, man. It was Portugal. The Portuguese Empire started the slave trade in the fucking 1700s. We get accused of it. It's our thing. I say ours. This was hundreds of years ago, and any ours was even like a thing. You know what I mean? Like people get confused a bit. But they were at that thing before Britain was. No, obviously we got in and again Britain got in and did their hell bit and it was horrible. Obviously it was horrible. Aye. But the blame is Portugal's. It's they started it. If you want to blame anybody, you blame Portugal. So, I mean, that and Spain conquered the whole of the South American continent except Brazil. That was Portugal. Yeah.
I don't understand how we've got Gibraltar.
Because we conquered it.
Why do we still have it?
We took it.
Because we took it and never gave it back.
It's very strange. That I'm sure you can still go to Gibraltar your holidays and like see that now during COVID times with very little fucking push.
The Falklands.
It's a British territory. We own the Falklands. There was a whole war fought over it. It belongs to Britain. Good. To go to defend our overseas territories. It's a thing. You can't be having Argentina tell you what you can and can't do.
I don't know. Somebody can fucking
with an island off their coast.
Hunters have been cutting about, stealing everything, and pecking at your head. No, Gibraltar, it's full of monkeys.
Well, that was the whole British Empire. It took everything.
Yeah.
They
went into
conquered,
India and took all their gold.
Conquered everywhere. The empire that the sun never settled. Still the largest empire in human history. There's a history fact for you. British Empire is the largest empire of all time. In terms of land mass.
So do you think we should call it a day there? And just...
And again, before we go, I'm not necessarily justifying it, because I'm not necessarily justifying the British Empire. I'm just pointing out that they were the largest empire in human history. Again, again, people on YouTube like you outrage you people, and it's not going to work. Not only do I study politics at uni, but I study history as well. So this is one of my things. I'm just pointing out a fact. Britain owned most of the world at one point. The largest empire of all time. The Mongol Empire is the Mongol Empire is the second largest empire of all time, for example. So there's a list. Just saying Britain's was the biggest before you accuse me of being like a imperialist or something.
Colonizer.
Yeah, your red coat.
Or that I'm trying to shirk the blame by saying it was Portugal. That's an actual fact of history. It was Portugal that started the transatlantic slave trade, it's called. I'm not shirking the blame. I'm just pointing out. Before only we creep on YouTube tries to tell me that I'm like I'm Churchill's grandson or something. I don't know. like I'm an imperialist.
And if you are that wee greeting, please subscribe, like, all that YouTube stuff.
And hit that wee bell so you get a notification anytime we put a video up.
Thanks, greetings.